The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has decided to reduce the policy rate marginally, and the committee dropped the rate by some 50 basis points to some 25.5%. Well, this is the first time since June 2011 that the bank has reduced its policy rates, which often influences cost of credit. Addressing journalists after meeting to review the health of the economy, the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Abdul Nashiru Isahaku, said the action was influenced by a favorable outlook for the economy.
The outlook for inflation is broadly positive, as reflected in the continued decline in the underlying inflation, stability in the foreign exchange market, low aggregate demand conditions, and general high real interest rates. Growth conditions remain weak and below trend. This is underpinned by weak global demand, declining commodity prices, and disruptions in the production of oil and gas. Other factors include weak private sector credit growth as a result of the tight credit stance and fiscal consolidation efforts. These tight conditions are expected to prevail in the outlook. With these considerations, ladies and gentlemen, the committee concluded that the downside risks to growth outweigh the risk to inflation, and therefore decided to reduce the policy rate by 50 basis points to 25.5%.
We also have to remain in banking, and the president of the Association of Bank Treasurers and Currency Dealers, ACI, Woyomegate, has assured the businesses they do not need to panic over the recent significant depreciation of the Ghana cedi, saying measures by the Bank of Ghana will only bring more dollar inflows into the economy to correct the current situation of imbalances. In an interview with Joy Business, Woyomegate was also very much optimistic that the central bank's measures, including the directive for exporters to repatriate their profits into the country, as well as other options, will also help stabilize the Ghana cedi.
No need for panic. There isn't. Like I said, with the FX auctions coming up, we'll see more inflows. You know, also, Bank of Ghana made it such that all those exporters repatriate their proceeds back into the country. Initially, we didn't see so much of that, but I think that is starting to pick up. That should increase the inflows that are coming. If the supply starts improving, we'll see some stability on the market. There's no need to panic.
Explain to me how this whole auction thing that you're talking about is going to work out. You're going to start from the end of November. How is it going to work out? Which you believe that it would have an impact on the Ghana cedi?
Okay, so the central bank is going to make it such that banks will bid for FX from them. And they are using the Reuters platform in doing this. So if they come onto the market and they say, we have this amount on the market, and then all banks are to bid their price for it. So I think with that, we'll see more inflows coming into the market. If they have, you know, there were talks about the cocoa money coming straight to commercial banks. However, are the banks ready to take that amount of FX? No, I wouldn't say we are. If it goes to the central bank and is auctioned back into the market, I believe we'll have the necessary inflows we need to cater for the demand that we are seeing now. So that should be able to stabilize the.
Away from the banks, businessman Alfred Agbasi Woyomegate says he never took advantage of change in government to swindle the state to claims by sections of the public. Well, he states that there was a continuous discussion with authorities before the controversial 51.2 million Ghana cedis was paid into his account as judgment debt. He was speaking exclusively on Joy News Current Affairs program, The Pulse.
In fact, it was not a change of government. There was continued discussion before the government changed to NDC government. So I did not take advantage of a change government or whatever they've put into the people's mind and things like that. It's a simple contractual issue that was created by this. How it has turned to this, for me, sometimes I say that I marvel. But I know the truth is truth. So we will test it in court, and we have tested it in court for all this period. The 51 million Ghana cedis is genuinely my money and the fruit of it, and I owe nobody. I owe nobody how I use my money. Was it legally paid? Yes, it was legally paid. It was not stolen. It was not done anything. It's something that stretched from Kufuor's period into Atami's period, and it was paid to me legally.
And Mr. Woyomegate also said that his arrest over the judgment debt saga was a failed assassination attempt in disguise.
The events from the court, the events of the so-called arrest, where your cameramen were there, and for me, it was a failed assassination attempt. I have talked since 3 consecutive times. I have spoken on issues, and I have laid the bare facts to Ghanaians as it's unfolding. Because
okay,
I'm more sorry.
Continue. I'm sure that for those watching, they will know.
They are dwelling on the peripheries.
And Alfred Woyomegate also said the Supreme Court, which ordered him to pay back the money, was misled to reach its decision in July 2014.
I didn't go to the previous government that give me something. I was in my consulate because of government. Then, and this particular one, Honorable Osekoku, may his soul rest in peace. So he's a wonderful chap. He's my brother. He was my brother. From Asante, the first Minister for Youth and Sport. He came and he discussed with me, what can we do about the youth? Because you have done this, you have done that, you have done that with Safumafu, which they have all paid me, so he knows it. The track record was there. And we come to with this grand idea. And I challenge any one of them, anybody, that can 2008, we had Rashid Bawa, who made sure that they won it. Rex Dankwa, who made sure they won it. I. Because it was the only channel for which Ghana could have borrowed when we were so epic. And then, as a countryman, you let him to do a lot of things, set up offices abroad, many places, which they are all called records. So I don't want to waste the listeners' time, but to say the core issue. The core issue is that I was led into this.
By who?
By the previous government.
So by extension, you mean by former President Kufuor?
You see, he happened to be the president.
Okay.
If the ministers are there to execute their duty, constitutionally mandated duty, and they go and tell A, B, C that they should work, at the end of it, they go to cabinet to discuss it. That's where presidents prefer come in.
And just 14 days to the main election, the general elections, the General Secretary of the governing National Democratic Congress, Johnson Esiedun Ketia, has dismissed former Attorney General Martin Amidu's call for Ghanaians to vote against the party in the upcoming elections, saying it will in no way impact on the choices Ghanaians will make at the polls come December 7. Ms. Amidu, former vice presidential candidate of the NDC, in a statement last week stated that the only way Ghanaians could retrieve the judgment debt wrongly paid to the businessman Agbesi Woyomegate was for the NDC to be removed from power. The NDC's General Secretary would, however, not respond to Mr. Amidu's allegation that President Mahama was scheming against his oral examination of Mr. Woyomegate, saying it does not merit any of his reactions.
I don't think it is deserving of my response at all, because I know Ghanaians will not vote based on what Martin Amidu will urge them to vote, in the direction Martin Amidu will urge them to vote. If indeed Ghanaians will vote according to the advice of Martin Amidu, we would have won the elections in 2000 when he was a running mate, because at that time he was all over on platforms urging Ghanaians to vote for us. They didn't vote for us. So I don't see any reason why it is now that Ghanaians will be listening to Martin Amidu's voice to be taking their decisions. But because these issues are sub judice, I am not a lawyer. I don't want to be part of it. And secondly, when these latest developments came, I was on the field. So I'm not abreast with everything about it. That's why. But I think that it is something that is not deserving of any official response from the NDC party.
You don't think that to a very
individual? It's an individual, it's campaigning. It is not Martin Amidu alone who is saying they should vote against NDC. There are certain people.
And here is he criticizing the same party and even calling for electors to.
President Rawlings, the founder of the party, criticized this party. He didn't take us out of power. Thank you.
So you're confident you will go?
On recent calls for politically organized health works to be banned following violent clashes between supporters of the two main parties, Mr. Siedu Nketia disagrees. He said it won't be the solution to the problem.
Since I became General Secretary and since I ever contested in any elections, the climate now leading to elections, 2 weeks to election, is the most peaceful. By all means, you get some isolated incidents, but you can be the better judges. That the tensions that attended to the 2012, 2008 elections and so on, it cannot be compared to what is happening now. So I am very confident that we are making progress as a country, because in all other elections, 2 weeks to election, the type of tensions and clashes and things you hear of. I've heard of about this Nima issue, and I think also. We are 2 weeks to election. Let's pray that, we should have an ideal situation where there will be no clashes at all. But I think that it is a marked improvement over what has been happening in the country. And I think that moving forward, we should work towards a situation where there will not be any opportunity for clashes at all. So yesterday, when I arrived, I heard about these things. I went to participate in the walk in Nima. Now I addressed the MPP, NDC supporters equally and impress upon them the need to be civil in their campaigning and so on. And reminded them that, look, you are the same Nima people living in the same community. You attend your advance together, you do your festivals together and so on. Family relations and so on. So why would you allow party colors to now make you enemies? So there is no point. Within the next 3 weeks, these things will be over and you will continue to stay as brothers.
Those who are calling for a situation where we would stop the health works just in order to avoid those clashes, to stop it up until the elections.
So everybody should stay in their house, no exercise. I don't think so. This is not a solution at all.
Well, in the camp of the main opposition party, the New Patriotic Party, its presidential candidate, Nana Addo Dankwa-Akufo-Addo, has condemned calls by the President John Dramani Mahama on Northerners to vote for the NDC because he is an indigene of the North. According to Nana Addo Dankwa-Akufo-Addo, President Mahama, who is supposed to be a unifier, has rather chosen to engage in tribalism and some petty politics to rescue his party from defeat in the upcoming general elections. Speaking at the MPP Volta Regional Rally at Aflao Avuma in the Ketu South constituency, Nana Addo Dankwa-Akufo-Addo implored Ghanaians to vote against candidates who engage in tribal politics.
The rally, dubbed Volta for Change, was on the theme, the role of the Voltarian in the agenda for jobs. The gathering brought together NPP faithful across the region. National and regional executives as well as communicators of the party took turns to address the mammoth crowd to galvanize votes for the NPP. They encouraged the electorate in the perceived electoral world bank of the NDC to vote for the NPP to better their lives and safeguard the future of the country. Addressing the rally, Nana Akufo-Addo emphasized that President Mahama has realized he would lose the upcoming election, therefore has taken to tribal politics to save his party and promised to build a prosperous, free and democratic nation.
Our president, who should be a figure who unites all of us, has now unabashedly, unashamedly launched on a campaign of tribal incitement and inflammation in our country. He's telling the people of the North that they should vote for him because he's a Northerner, and that we in the NPP, we don't like Northerners, so they shouldn't listen to us. Is that the Ghana we want? North against South, South against North, tribe against tribe. Is that the Ghana we want?
Nana Akufo-Addo, who reaffirmed his pledge to rapidly develop the Volta region in his administration, promised to accelerate the exploration of oil in the Keta Basin and construct a harbour at Keta and other ancillary facilities to facilitate fishing business in coastal communities. He also assured all policies outlined in the NPP manifesto would be implemented to develop the country.
I'm standing ready to work with you to develop the region and to develop Ghana. We are going to accelerate. We're going to accelerate the exploration of oil in the Volta Basin here to make sure that what we did in the Western region, we're going to repeat it in the Volta region. We're going to build a new harbor in Qatar with the support of the private sector. We're going to rebuild the harbor in Qatar and the landing site and storage facilities that we need to get the fishing community on the coast working. We're going to do it.
The vice presidential candidate of the NPP, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, charged NPP supporters to vote out the corrupt and incompetent Mahama-led government under whose watch the country's economy collapsed.
Over the last 8 years, they have had more money than all other governments put together from Nkrumah to Kufuor. And yet they cannot pay for the National Health Insurance Scheme. And yet they cannot pay for school feeding. And yet they cannot pay for mass cocoa spraying. And yet the national youth employment has collapsed on their watch. They cannot pay contractors. And that is why we say they are an incompetent government.
A former trades minister in the erstwhile Kufuor administration, Alan John Tremantin, who indicated that votes from the region will decide the fate of the NPP in the December polls, implored the people to vote for the NPP for jobs. He added that the Volta region would become an industrial hub under the NPP administration, where thousands of jobs would be created for the youth in the region.
If Volta decides that Nana Adu will be the next president, Nana is going to be the next president. I want to assure you, a vote for Nana Adu as the next president of Ghana will mean a vote for prosperity. It will be a vote for jobs.
Fred Kwame Asari filed this report.
And exactly 2 weeks to the election. And that's it for the news this morning. But we have a lot more news on the elections coming up when we do a review of the newspapers. We have a couple of the newspapers in the studio. And then we'll try and get onto our online portal, formuslimajononline.com, and try to see what news we have there. We'll touch base with City FM online and then also the Africa page of the BBC. But throughout this period, you can get interactive on our WhatsApp platform using the number 0560 800,000. Right now, we're streaming also live on our page on YouTube. Just please search for My Joy Online or Joy News on TV, and then you get to watch us streaming live. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll do a review of the newspapers. Do stay on.